There's no finality to these instructions, but Jack Smith is obsessed with going to trial before the election.
Residents in one small Illinois town are revolting against what people are calling the worst mayor in America. The village of Dalton, Illinois' monthly town hall meeting has made national headlines yet again for fiery confrontations with scandal-ridden Mayor Tiffany Henyard. Henyard has been accused of misdeeds ranging from embezzlement to weaponizing police and retaliatory business raids and spending taxpayer money on luxuries like traveling to Las Vegas. One female staffer says she was sexually assaulted by Henyard in Las Vegas. These Dalton residents are demanding answers and want her out.
You know what happened in Vegas. You know what happened. And you should be addressing it.
You've done nothing. You don't care about nobody but yourself.
You know what you're doing. You're violating our rights. And that's a shame. You lied. You lied to us as residents. You do not stand for me. And I want you to step down. And they say that you're the worst mayor in America. I agree. I want you to get out of our town.
A columnist is offering advice to Donald Trump on how to build on his lead of Joe Biden in swing states.
Author and columnist Robert Knight says if he were President Trump, he'd go to the border more than once for a photo op and talk to the officials dealing with this incredible surge in illegals that has gone on under Joe Biden.
I would not be shy to engage in the culture war. Most Americans don't like the transgender agenda being shoved down their throats. They don't like to see it ruining women's sports. They don't want their children seduced into weird sexuality.
As a result, Knight says Trump has a golden opportunity to stand for traditional values.
Hispanics will flock to him if he does that. A lot of black voters will, when informed of how bizarre the Biden cultural agenda really is, will either vote Republican or sit it out. Republicans have been reluctant historically to really take on the culture war the way they should, which is one reason we're in the mess we're in. But I think Trump gets it. He called out Biden on the proclamation for Transgender Visibility Day issued on March 31st, Easter Sunday.
Speaking at a recent campaign event in Arizona, Biden said the upcoming election is not a referendum on him, rather a choice between me and a guy named Trump. I'm Chris Woodward.
More news online at AFN.net and the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty Pugh.
Yes, indeed. If you are here, you have arrived. It's good to see your genetic modification and Mike in the chat room up there, as well as Jesuit Fiend taking on the darkness in the First Amendment Radio chat room. And Mick Dirty Work over there. I see him all the time over on, where is it, D-Live? But good to see somebody over there in the Rumble chat room for a change besides myself and, let's see, who is it? The other guy over there? Oh, his name, Epicus. That's, yeah, I'm sure Epicus will show up sooner or later. All right, well, this is a hangout, something for me to do for a couple hours every night instead of sitting by myself with a book beside a lamp in the dark or watching a movie on the television by myself, because that's the way it usually ends up. Since I live alone and I am a widowed man, and I do have a young daughter who lives with me. She's 23, but usually she's out with her friends, her age. most of the time in the evening. So that's the way it works. So here I am, and just want to hang out. And I am a Reformed Protestant, and the only Reformed churches I've ever gone to are Reformed Baptist, because they seem to be the closest in theology to me with my beliefs, and because there's no Reformed churches around me. I've checked out the Lutheran Church and some Episcopal churches. Some of them have women pastors, and some of them are a little bit too Catholic for me. So that's the way that works out. And then if you go to the Reformed Baptist churches, though there are none that really call themselves Reformed Baptists around me, I call them Reformed Baptists because their theology is more reformed leaning. But the trouble with that is I usually get shunned by them when they find out that I am not a futurist. Yeah, when I don't believe in the sacred doctrine, the sacred speculation of a 7-year pre-tribulation resurrection, that happens 7 years. A secret resurrection happens 7 years before Jesus' second coming. And they've labeled it the rapture because, they've taken the part where we're caught up to meet Jesus in the air, called the harpazo in the Greek, rapture in the Latin, which I don't know why. Well, I do know why they use the Latin word for it, because that points to its origin. It's counter-Reformation eschatology, my friends. It surely is. And there's no other way for it. Okay, well, let's see. Well, I'm going to warm up, and suggestions, comments, links. You can text me if you want to get my attention right away. If the chat rooms get going too fast or something, or I'm not paying enough attention to them, you can text me right away, and that'll get my attention right away. Or you can call the same number. You can text or call. But if someone's on the call with me, you have to text, because I can't take 2 calls at a time, though it will ring. So all I can say is if I'm on a call, which used to happen years ago, that I'd be on one call and other people would want to call in. And I could take 2 calls, so I was using Skype then, but that doesn't work with the system I have now. So, and I don't know why I'm saying all this, because the only person that calls me most of the time is Fireman Mike, a few other people. And, but usually there's this guy or gal or spirit that just calls and says nothing. Yeah. So, but I think let me see. Oh yeah, I have one number here that has 1 strike on it that I haven't blocked yet. So I expect another one on there. Strike 2, you're out. I've decided 3 strikes is too long. So anyway, let's see. No bucks. Bob in the chat room, good to see you. Finding out Presbyterian Church was yeah. Okay, that's the problem here with this chat room. Was so subdued. I think it's because they teach a covenant theology. Yeah. Well, was it? No, it was. I don't think I haven't been to a Presbyterian church here. I wonder if there probably is one here somewhere. I mean, there are lots of churches everywhere. But I think it was an Episcopal church or something. They claimed to be Reformed, but when I went in there and had a woman pastor, I decided that wasn't for me. And I figured they would not be straightened out by me either, because I'm really nobody, and why should they pay attention to me, right? It's probably what the scribes, Pharisees, and the hypocrites said about Jesus. Why, he's just a carpenter's son, hanging out with fishermen and whores and stuff. He's a wine bibber, and that's all the stuff they said about Jesus too. So, yeah. Oh, let's see. Let's see, somebody's putting a link in the Rumble chat room. Probably somebody spamming us over there. If you want to put a link in the chat room, tell us what the link is about too. Otherwise, we'll likely just ignore it. Say, hey, check this out. It's about this or that. At least pique our interest. Otherwise, I'm not going to bother. Okay, let's see. Yes, let's check out the Babylon Bee and see if they got anything worth laughing at here. Let's see. South Carolina women's basketball coach announces incoming recruits Greg and Dave. Yeah. Women's basketball. I mean, they might as well just. Why do the men have to pretend to be women to join the women's basketball team? I mean, I know why women don't want to join the men's team, because it's so obvious, and that is the same reason that. Anyway. Cleveland, Ohio, prior to the NCAA championship game, South Carolina women's basketball coach Dawn Staley announced a pair of exciting incoming freshman recruits named Greg and Dave. Yeah, Greg and Dave. Okay, and I guess there they are. And forget Caitlin. Let's see how her scoring record holds up to a 7-foot beast that can drain threes, said Staley. Welcome Greg and Dave to the Lady Gamecocks. Anyway, of course, this is satire, but it's pretty close to the truth, because what's the difference? If you're going to have men, do they really have to pretend to be women to get on a women's team? There's really no difference. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, let's see what else Babylon Bee's got. It's a whole long thing here, but I don't think I want to get into it. Let's see what else they got. They got to have something funnier than that. I love satire, but I like laughing too. Well, we could laugh about the eclipse. Dorks of Nation helpfully identify themselves by wearing solar eclipse glasses. Yeah, I heard somebody, I forget who it was. I think it was actually David Knight. I kind of gasped. No, it was someone who's younger than me, quite a bit younger than me. Oh, no, it was John Arthur. That's right. That's who it was. Sorry, Dave, didn't mean to put you down like that. But John Arthur, because he's like 10 or 15 years younger than I am, at least, if not more. And he said, when I was young, we didn't put on glasses and all that stuff. We just went out and looked at the solar eclipse. We just went out and looked at it. Go, really? I remember being in grade school, and we were advised not to look at it. That actually we were taught, I'm going back to the 50s here, people. So I know John Arthur doesn't go back to the 50s. And anyway, because I remember that we made viewing boxes, okay? And in the top of the box, we would poke holes. And then in the bottom of the box, we would have a white viewing screen. And it was amazing. This is like very low tech, okay? And when the sun went through the hole, it projected, you could actually see the eclipse projected on the white piece of paper below, just shining it through a hole. It acted like a camera lens, and it inverted it. It was great. And I remember that from the 50s. So I don't know what John's talking about. I just thought, whoa, John. It's a good thing the eclipse has passed, because he'd have people going out there and burning their eyeballs out. Yeah, it can be quite a blinding experience. So yeah, you should not look directly at the sun, even with an eclipse. So anyway, next time you'll know better. And hopefully John will hear this. And hope he didn't run out. Okay, let's see, where is John? He's in Florida. I think he missed the eclipse, yeah. So guess nobody around him had to worry about it. Okay. Dorks of Nation, yeah. And everybody, I know people that actually, I know of people, kind of acquaintances, that actually flew to Texas to see the eclipse from California. So talk about dorks. This goes beyond dork. Yes. And I'm not naming any names here, but, I would say some of these people are not too smart because, this eclipse was 7.5 minutes long? And we experience an eclipse every night, say around, 7, 8 o'clock, whenever the sun sets, and actually lasts for like 10 to 12 hours before it gets light again. And it's not just the moon, the little old moon that's eclipsing the sun, but it's the whole earth every night, like clockwork. So I find it hard to get excited about an eclipse, frankly speaking. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. Anybody agree with me on that? One thing I noticed was the corona of the surrounding region was white, and the northern states it was blue. Struck me odd. Huh. Okay. Oh, Mike Nicholas, does this South Carolina news come with a barf bag? South Carolina news? Is that where Babylon Bee is from? South Carolina? Oh, you were talking about the article. Yeah. Yeah, does it come with a barf bag? Yes, I guess so. All right. Let's see. Let's see what else the Babylon Bee has here. The Babylon Bee officially invites Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens to come settle things like adults by sumo wrestling. Yeah. See, all vampires came out. Tom Raines, good to see you. All vampires came out on the eclipse and got married before the sun returned. Must have been a fast ceremony, right? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, there it is. Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens. I've never liked Ben Shapiro ever since I heard him go off on a hatred rant of my Lord Jesus. Yeah, ever since then, I've had no regard or respect for the man whatsoever. But I have prayed for him, that perhaps, he could actually, like a Catholic, read his Bible and find Jesus in it. Yeah, that would be great. But I think Candace Owens, I gotta give it to her. Yeah, but she stood her ground, and hopefully, she'll become closer and closer to the truth. She's married to a Catholic man, so but at least she's looking into her Bible and reading it, and hopefully her and her husband will, as Bible reading Catholics. Well, he's a Catholic, she's not. Hopefully they'll both become Reformed Protestants. So I pray for Ben Shapiro and Candace Owens both. And but Ben Shapiro, it's an unequal yoke for Christians to be yoked with Jews. Sorry, all you Zionists out there. It is an unequal yoke. Their morals are not our morals. Christ raised the standard. They never got the notice. They never got the update, okay? Because the Holy Spirit updates us. It updates our software so that we know it's not just not killing your neighbor that vindicates you, but it's if you want to kill your neighbor, it's the same sin. It's like the PragerU guy and pornography. He's a Jew, PragerU. Pornography's okay, but see, we as Christians know that if you desire to commit sin, fornicate with your neighbor's wife or your neighbor's daughter or somebody who's not your wife, basically, that you've already committed adultery in your heart. So Jesus raised the standard, and Jews, they don't get the update. Okay, you only get that by the Holy Ghost. So it's an unequal yoke no matter what way you look at it. All right, well, but the satire, is it funny or not? It gives me cause to think anyway. To settle things, nah, I think they should part ways, and I hope it stays that way. Okay, let's see. Unclear if the guy next to you in church nailing cool harmony or just singing way off key. Yes, I guess the modern churches don't have to worry about that since they don't use hymnals. They have a rock band on the stage, and they put the lyrics on a big screen, so you can follow along. But you can't hear your neighbor because the rock band is so loud. Okay. I worked. Let's see. Just checking out the chat room here, seeing if anything's going on here. Conversations are happening over there. All right. And that's pretty much all we get from Babylon Bee. As if that wasn't enough, right? Let's see. Does Jesus trump your politics? I think this is a commercial, though. Yeah. Yes. I don't know what that is about. Oh, a message from Cross Examine. So it is a promotional. I guess Babylon Bee likes to pay their bills and their salaries, too. If only. So we had salaries and medical plans and all that stuff. Boy, I would be big time then, wouldn't I? Yes, indeed. Now I have a medical plan already. Yes, it's called it's called taking care of my health the best I can. And okay, let's see what else we got here. Oh yes, we had Not the Bee. So we'll look at Not the Bee. But like I said, I'd like this show to be more about you guys too, So that's why I have the text number here and the call-in line. So you can send me links, but not YouTube videos. Not videos, I might check them out. But, if you send me a link like somebody just did in the Rumble chat room, I need a idea of what the link is, or I'm not even going to look at it. And then I'm going to look at it maybe during the break, or maybe use it for the next broadcast if I think it's good. Or if you got, like something funny, a funny video or something, if it's a couple minutes long, I would love to share those things. But a brief description of what it is, if you want to share it, text it to me. That'll work. Or put it in one of the chat rooms with, like I said, a notice of what it's about. Hate to get too complicated. Okay, well, I think I have a caller here, and but I think this one has one strike on it, like I said, so I expected them to call in and use their other strike. Let's see. Your name and where you're calling from. You're on the air. Yeah, this one has strike one on it. Yeah. Okay, well, I'm going to give you 15 seconds. Speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, and call. Skip that, and then we'll just go over here and block number. I like it that it's so easy to do that. Block number. All right, now I can delete the conversation forever. That's the way that works. Okay, well, I told you that one would call. One that had one strike. So I guess our good friend over there, who are just calling Guy Fawkes for now, has to go hire some new numbers. Yeah, genetic modification says 15 seconds, Nicholas. Too generous. Yeah, well, for a second call. I usually give 30 seconds the first one, 15 seconds the second one. And I used to give 3 strikes, but that became too monotonous. So I decided 2 strikes was enough. Yeah. A lost soul needing prayer and another strike. Yes. Lord, strike them with lightning. I'm just kidding, of course. I would rather that they read their Bibles, got convicted by the gospel message of Jesus Christ, and came to the saving knowledge and found out, hey, guess what? I'm one of God's elect. Yeah. What a beautiful thing to find out, isn't it? It's one of the greatest things I ever found out, that God had elected me, and for no reason that I can discover except that he wanted to. I'm sure he has his reasons, but I have no idea what they are except what I read in the Bible. Yeah. He's merciful, and he's good, and he's kind, and he gave his only son for our sins. Wow. Yeah. What's not to love, man? Seriously. Bunch of lasers focus on a small amount of hydrogen, trying to change it into helium plus a lot of energy. What are we talking about now? Tom Raines. Oh, hot steam to turbine turns generator. Let there be light. Yeah, if only we could get rid of the electric bill. Wouldn't that be great? Even with my solar panels, my bill is still too high because they keep raising the price. Thank you, Obama. He said he was going to double the price of electricity in his first term, which he did in California. So he wants to make it more expensive for everybody. Promise, vote for me. Why did people vote for this clown? He told them exactly what he was going to do. He said, change. Yeah. How's the change looking so far? How you guys liking the Obama change out there? Well, here comes our first break, but I will be back with more Not the Bee and other stuff after some messages. Don't go anywhere. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, Deconstructing Pre-Tribulation Dispensational Futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at Lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Temperature is rising as it's 81 degrees in my studio. It's going to be, reminds me summer is coming, but it's still quite a ways away. Okay, it is warming up. Let's see. What do we got next? Comments, questions. Repent or perish is the command in this final age of great deception. Yes. Good advice. Repent or perish. Okay, that's, let's see if we got anything else going on over here in the Rumble chat room. Nope. Just, gee, I wonder, I haven't heard from Brother Philip, the evangelist. I wonder if he fell asleep. He's in Texas, so it's 2 hours later there. It's 21:34 here. That's 9:34. So, yeah, he might be asleep. I know this is hard for people on the East, if you moved Eastern into the United States, but if I was in the middle of the United States, it might be easier to capture both audiences. But I'm sure there are some night owls. We have, let's see, we have Bob, but he said he likely wouldn't last the whole program, but he's over there in Pennsylvania. Yep. Okay, let's see what else Not the Bee has. Oh, we haven't even looked at it yet. The Southwest had to make an emergency landing after an engine cover came off a Boeing 737. That's not one of those new Supermaxes. This is an old plane. It's probably just because it's an old plane that parts are starting to fall off it, because 737's a pretty old plane. Here's the video. Nah, I don't need to see the video. I've seen parts fall off of stuff before. Haven't you all? Yes, I'm driving down the road, seen parts fall off of stuff before. Okay, let's see. Eric Adams. Eric Adams, wonder who he is. Defends New York City's new legal advice chatbot after it told restaurant owners to give customers cheese eaten by rats. Was that on the menu or something? Where's my cheese eaten by rats? I'll have the cheese eaten by rats sandwich. Give me that Philly cheese steak. Yes, indeed. Cheese eaten. Make sure you put that cheese eaten by rats. I like that aged stuff. It's only in New York, people. Only in New York. Yes. The rats are probably an endangered species. You have to, yeah. Chatbot. Let's see, whose chatbot is a new legal advice chatbot? Wow. So now they're going to get legal advice from chatbots. Good luck with that. Yeah. New Microsoft chatbot was set up to help business owners with their legal questions while traversing the city's bureaucratic nightmare. Oh, very helpful, yeah. Now, see, this is not the bee, but I find it funnier than, yeah. Okay, let's see what else we got here. Ohio man pulls gun on Burger King employee when offered a discount on his sausage croissants. What? How dare you give me a discount? I have no idea. It's like, why is he pointing his gun over the other car? Oh, they have 2 drive-up lines, I guess. Yeah. I don't know, folks. Maybe Joe Biden is right. Wonder what that means. I don't know, folks. Maybe Joe Biden is right. Ohio man pulls a gun on Burger King employee. Huh. Okay, I don't get it. Yeah. And I don't think I'm going to dig too far into it. Weird stuff going on everywhere. Why is it news? Okay, Starbucks is out here advertising gender-affirming health care to try to get people to work for them. I wonder what kind of people they want to work for them. That's not too hard to guess. So it's here on a cup thing, the thing that keeps your hands from burning from their hot coffee. We're hiring. Did you know Starbucks offers coverage for gender reassignment surgery and more? Oh, gee, where do I sign up? Really? Well, I am proud to say that I have never entered a Starbucks in my life, and nor will I, because I know how anti-Christian they are, and anti-baby and pro-everything that's wrong with America. If Starbucks disappeared tomorrow, the world would be a better place, because just think of all the money that people would save on coffee by making their own or getting it somewhere else. If you have to go out and buy coffee, please don't go to Starbucks. Yeah, please. Okay, this 8-year-old kid just became the youngest person to beat a chess grandmaster. Gee, I wonder if he could beat me. I'm not a grandmaster, but I have rules that I play by when I play chess, and nobody I know can beat me. Seriously. But I don't want to be a grandmaster and all that stuff. That's just. But chess is it's a game where nothing is hidden. I love it. Yeah, it's a game where nothing is hidden. It all takes place in your brain between you and the other person. Let's see. Good, Nicholas. Maybe New York lawyers will go when to ABOTs and save a few jobs. GM Life is a diametric opposition right now. Men on the women college, yes, all that stuff. Good grief. Yes, indeed. Seriously. Let's see what else we got going here in this other chat room. I guess you might have said some things before on the show, but could only hear the other. Oh, yeah. Okay, chess. Any chess players out there? Come on, anybody? How about Philip the Evangelist? Yeah, I saw someone doing something of that nature. You can make them yell out, Jesus is coming, maybe if you put your name. How much did I miss on the radio line? Oh, I see. This Darkija moved over to the Rumble chat room. There you go. That'll liven it up a little bit. How much did you miss? I don't know. It was my bad. I forgot to turn off. I have default programming in case I don't show up at night. It plays reruns of the programs I ran this morning at this time slot, and I forgot to turn them off. So it plays them on the audio stream, but not on the video, because I hijacked the video stream for my broadcast to go live, and I just forgot to turn it off, so sorry about that. Let's see. Darkija says, I hate chess. Well, yes, indeed. Any other chess players out there? Well, I imagine if you hate chess, you must know something about the game. You know enough to hate it, because it's a game. I like to play other games. Some games I don't like at all. Some games pretend to be intellectual and strategic based, but they're not, because they always have an element of chance, meaning anybody can win. So it doesn't. But chess is a game of wits, seriously, and because you can hide nothing, everything is playing out in the open. So you wonder, what's the big deal, right? Any chess players out there? No takers, huh? Because I was thinking I'd just set up a chessboard here and I could play with someone while I'm doing the broadcast. Seriously. Well, I guess the rerun was okay. Never mind. I hate chess. The true ponder this: who or whom invented chess? Who or whom? I have not played chess since my youth, many decades ago. All that concerns is the world checkmate on all mankind at the moment, which ought to continue to concern us. Ponder this. Yeah, does the world really have a checkmate on mankind? Yeah. I think some people are way too serious about some things because they don't realize that God really has everything under control. Yeah. Oh, Darky just says, I know enough that my brain don't like it. Yeah, it does take a little brain power, but I figured out how to make chess easy. That's why I have my own rules. And if I told you what my rules are, you go, duh, what? Right? Anybody want to know my rules for chess? See, the Freemasonic chessboard, they added that symbolism, the true history of chess. Is that a thing? Is that a book or something, or a documentary, The True History of Chess? That would be interesting, I think. Well, I played a bit of computer strategy games in my youth. Okay. Well, I know people who play computer chess, and then they think they're good at it until they play me. Because computers just, computer chess is a different thing. Now, the only thing I could play computer, but if you do timing, I need more time to think than the computer does. Seriously. I have two rules for chess. Rule number 1 is only play the board when it's your turn. That's rule number 1. Rule number 2, when it's your turn, make the best move. What else do you need to know? Seriously. Yeah. Only play the board when it's your turn and make the best move. Those are the two rules that I play by. And everything else is just a bonus as far as I'm concerned. As far as distracting your opponent. It's part of the game if you can distract your opponent. Yeah. And everything else that's going on around you can be part of the distraction. Paying attention to things that are going on around you to distract your opponent, whatever it takes. Let's see. The duality again, virtual or physical chess. Physical chess, of course, computer code is easily manipulated. True. Mike says, true, I believe that as well. Oh, no one is disputing that God is in control of all things. Well, I would dispute that because there are a lot of people that are disputing whether God is in control or not. Just ask the deist. Yeah. They believe that God wound it up like a clock and then just left. It left the room and is unconcerned. Some of them. I can't speak for all of them, but no, I mean, the way people act, like the whole thing that's going on in the Mideast right now, people are acting like, they're virtue signaling, picking sides and saying, I support this side and they support, neither of them support either side because they're not really supporting them. They're just virtue signaling and they're picking a side to virtue signal with, because support means that you're a true benefactor. If you're not a true benefactor, you're not supporting anybody except yourself. So really, if you're virtue signaling, you're just supporting yourself. But God knows what's going on. There's nothing surprising going on there. God's not sitting up, in the third heaven going, wow, I didn't see that happening, or I didn't know that Hamas was going to do that. No, he knew everything. As a matter of fact, everything happens for his purpose. Yeah. And everything works for good to those that love God and are called according to his purpose. Yes, it is sad, the calamity of others, and especially God's people, wherever they are in the earth. But God has it handled, seriously. So, but as far as starting wars over word wars, over taking sides, when there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. And as far as speaking or taking sides, if you really want to do something, send some of your hard-earned dollars over there to the Palestinians, to the aid convoys that are trying to. Then you're picking a side. Then you're supporting, okay? And if you want to support the Jews, well, support some of the missionaries over there that are bringing the gospel to the Jews. Then you're supporting Israel. But if you're not doing that, you're not supporting anybody. You're just kidding yourself. And that's what I say. People think too highly of themselves, picking sides. They act like God is not in control, like he doesn't know what's going on, and they have to pick a side in order for things to turn out right. And all I recognize is that I'm absolutely powerless as far as getting anything done over there in Gaza or Hamas, the Gaza Strip, or in Israel. So I could virtue signal all day long and say that I'm supporting this side or that by, speaking words of support for one side or the other. But I don't support either side of the governments. I don't support either of the warring sides. I believe the ones that are warring and started this war and carrying this war on, I believe they're both evil. So I certainly am not going to pick either one of those to support. Ah. Oh, I was just laughing at Tom when he says, I Googled chess. It was created by people of India who played Chaturanga in 600 AD. CIA Google, Tom. I would think you would know better than that. Must go deeper than that. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Okay, let's see what else we got. We talked enough about chess. Indeed. So we have no chess players. Okay. I'll just keep beating my the few people that play me once and then say, never mind. Because I have a lot of people come over, they think they know how to play chess, but they really don't. Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, that's all we get from Not the Bee. All right, so nobody's sending me any links. And I can't keep up with Arkeej over there in that chat room, so I hope somebody's over there keeping up with him, because it's way too fast for me. All right, let's see what else we got here. Let's see, America's biggest sovereign man. Let's see what he's got today. Let's see, Jamie Dimon, the CEO of J.P. Morgan Chase. Oh, we have a caller. So let me take this call, accept, and Let's see. Your name and where you're calling from. You're on the air with Nicholas. Oh, come on. Yes, I guess Guy Fawkes strikes again. I guess he got another number. So, okay. Well, we're getting on 30 seconds here already, so I'm just going to say strike one. Strike one. Yep, that's strike one. And, yep, got a new number. All right, so just had to interrupt me. Just how someone can get any pleasure out of that, I don't know. Let's see. I guess if I become rich and famous, I can afford to have a board op here. Or we'll see. Maybe I will get a board op. I said, Lord, won't you buy me a Mercedes-Benz? No, I need a board op, Lord. Forget the Mercedes-Benz. Yes, because you'd have to give me a chauffeur, too. Okay, Jamie Dimon, CEO of J.P. Morgan, did not open his annual shareholder letter with rosy language about the state of the world or even enthusiasm about his bank's record profits. Instead, he describes yet another year of significant challenges, including the war in Ukraine, war in the Middle East, extreme tensions with China, higher food and energy prices, turmoil in the banking sector, outrageous government deficits, and even major risks with the Federal Reserve monetary policy. Dimon writes that America's global leadership role is being challenged outside by other nations and inside by our polarized electorate, that this is a time of great crisis. He went on with a few charts and thoughts about the bank's business and financial performance over the last year, and then dedicated most of the remaining 57 pages of his letter to 57-page letter. Okay, I call that at least half a book. To serious problems which the world which face the world. Well, there's a lot of problems if you want to write a 57-page letter about world problems. I guess that would be easy to do. I could even do that, but who wants to write on such things? But Jamie Dimon does. His observations are wide-reaching, from decay in social cohesion to the prospect of war and higher inflation to the serious potential for a reset of the Bretton Woods system, which made the U.S. dollar the world reserve currency. Frankly, the letter almost reads as a manifesto written by someone who is completely fed up with government incompetence and positioning himself to run for office. I can't agree with everything he says, but it's obvious that his ideas are balanced and well thought out. There are a few points in particular worth repeating. 1, keep it in perspective. The world is not coming to an end. Well, the world as we know it is not coming to an end real soon, but certainly when Jesus returns about 2055, at the beginning of the 7th millennia from Adam, or the creation, the world as we know it will be coming to an end. Okay? So if you read the newspaper, this is a quote, of course, from his letter. If you read the newspaper from virtually any day in any year since World War II, Dimon writes, there's abundant coverage on wars, hot and cold, inflation, recession, polarized politics, terrorist attacks, migration, and starvation. As appalling as these events have been, the world was generally on a path to becoming stronger and safer. This is absolutely a true statement. It's easy to get caught up in the negativity while missing the abundance of growth and opportunity. In the year 1918, most people probably thought that the world was coming to an end. The Great War was at its peak. Economies were faltering, and inflation was raging. Rationing and shortages were everywhere. And then the Spanish flu popped up and killed tens of millions of people. Bleak times indeed. And yet, we won't comment on that. Bleak times indeed. And yet, the next century was the most prosperous in human history, despite a very bumpy path along the way. This is similar to where we are today. Yes, inspired idiots have caused a gigantic mess, Boy, have they. But the general trajectory of the human species is still improving. I hope so. Well, what that was all about. Okay, I got a signal for something, but I don't know what it was. Private message. Okay, well, we'll check that out, Jesuit fiends. Yes, I guess it makes a sound if you get a private message. I thought one of my horses got loose. Okay, continuing here. In the year as we have bleak times indeed. It's similar where we are today. That said, long-term risks should not be underestimated, especially for the West. Diamond finds that there is too much emphasis on short-term monthly data and too little on long-term trends, as he talks about inflation as a great example. Economists, investors tend to be almost singularly focused on monthly inflation reports in an effort to divine if and when the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates. And at this point, he's getting more into financial stuff, which, if he's talking about Jamie Dimon, there's no surprise there. Talks about distinct possibility of reset of the post-World War II financial system known as the Bretton Woods that anointed the U.S. dollar as the global reserve currency. We may need a new Bretton Woods, he says. And perhaps we'll talk a little bit more about this article when we get back from the breaks, and your suggestions and texts and whatever you want to send. I'll be back in a few minutes. Don't go anywhere.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Hi, I'm Nicholas Arthur, and I'd like to introduce you to my latest book, Reformed Prophecy Interpretation, an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism in the 21st century. As with primitive biblical Christianity, historicism is the method of prophecy interpretation restored with the advent of the Protestant Reformation, and had become so widely held that for a long time it was called the Protestant view. My book is not so much about the errors of dispensationalism or amillennialism. Rather, it is about the historicist alternative to understanding many of the same passages from the vantage point of prophecy fulfilled in history. for those that desire more than mere hypotheses, bolstered with conjectured speculation, those who require explicit biblical exegesis and verified historical fulfillment, and are not willing to accept speculation as anything other than what it is. Speculation, not truth. This book is for you. Over the last century, this method of interpretation has become almost completely forgotten, even by Protestants, in the face of a method that is based almost entirely on future speculation, rather than fulfilled prophecy and history. In my book, I examine the reasons for this and investigate some of the prophecy which has been fulfilled in the interim, as well as present an apology for Reformed premillennial historicism to the 21st century. If you're interested in a copy of my book, you can go to my website, crosstheborder.org, and get more information there. Or you may also find it at Amazon. I made it back. And yes, Jesuit Fiends sent me a link, and this looks like a good resource. So I would say you guys check this one out. I'm going to put it in the other chat rooms, the link, while I have it in my memory here. Anyway, this looks like a good resource. Or archive.org, Jesuit Hollywood. Yes, that I think I'm going to have to peruse this one for sure. It's quite lengthy, about 3 to 400 pages. Anyway, thank you for that, Jesuit Fiend, in the chat room. And I think that's something that my friend, let's see, I think I'll send that to him. He's probably asleep. That would be Philip the Evangelist, who from Texas there. Yeah, he said, it went totally dark in Dallas. I never saw that. It was like when Jesus died on the cross. Yeah, in the afternoon when it got dark. Yeah, probably, most likely. Who knows if that was a solar eclipse or not. I mean, a lunar eclipse or not. I don't know. But I think he talks about this kind of stuff. The Jesuits and entertainment and Hollywood. But yeah, this looks like a great resource that now I have in my library. So there it is. Let's see, what were you talking about? I'll look at this on the next break, though. I had to get up and take a little walk during this break and warm up my coffee because it just sat here and got cold. Okay. There was Formula One chess over the weekend. Prancing horse took knight. Carlos Sainz got past British Lando Norris. Your friends all drive Porsches. Support. Great song. Oh. Yes, indeed. All right, I forgot where I was, but I think oh yes, I was checking out this article. And the breaks are too short, or at least I need more time in the same amount of minutes. How's that sound? Can I get that? The more time in the same amount of minutes? Maybe I just need to move faster. See, Diamond is not shy about offering up suggestions, many of which have been written about in the past. He talks about border security, streamlining sensible regulations, and economic policies which prioritize growth. Unfortunately, he writes, the message America hears is that the federal government does not value business, that business is the problem and not part of the solution. There are fewer individuals in government who have any significant experience in starting or running a company, which is apparent every day in the political rhetoric that demonizes businesses and free enterprise and that damages confidence in America's institutions. He says he finds it astounding that many in Congress know what to do and want to do it, but are simply unable to pass legislation because of partisan politics. He goes on to list a multitude of government failures and the staggering number of policies, systems, and operations that are underperforming, including pitiful public schools, broken health care, infrastructure woes, especially the energy grid, terrible immigration policy, Social Security's looming insolvency, and more. Diamond states very clearly that the federal government needs to earn back trust through competence and effective policy making. Unfortunately, the clowns in the federal government right now, it seems that they cannot destroy the country fast enough, and they're trying to see if they can absolutely destroy America before the end of the year because they plan on leaving office. They're even passing laws to make it difficult for Trump when he gets in office. That's how much confidence they have in themselves, and who can blame them? Yeah. Diamond states clear the federal government needs to back trust and competent, effective policy making. True statement, but I'm not holding my breath because in related news, the White House just announced that Joe Biden is working on yet another way to forgive student debt for 30 million Americans. Yes, he doesn't believe that the president doesn't have the power not given to him by the Constitution. He wants it anyway. Yeah. Well, he's basically trying to buy votes to see if he can overcome a deficit that he likely can't even overcome by cheating this time, because now he has his own party turning on him, or many people that follow the Democrat Party are walking away and throwing up their hands in the air because the Democrats are making it all about abortion. But the truth is, those people are going, hey, anybody wants an abortion, they can get one. They may have to cross straight lines, but I mean, look, you're killing a child here. If it's not that important to you, just have the child. If crossing a state line is too difficult for you, if it's not important enough to do that, then don't do it. So, I mean, Democrats aren't stupid. They don't. Nobody's suffering from lack of abortions in America. And if that's all that Biden is running on, which apparently it is all he's running on, he's trying to say the economy is great, but does anybody believe him? I mean, is there anybody that believes him? Yeah, maybe some billionaires who it doesn't matter to, but not for the most of the people out there that he expects to vote for them for some reason. Now, all the illegal aliens coming in going, Joe Biden's our savior. Joe Biden's our God. Joe Biden is our sugar daddy. Yeah, he rips off Americans and gives us their stuff. Yeah, well, that can only last so long. Wait till some of those, because they ain't going to be on that gravy train very long. If you're a real American, the gravy train don't last, and you may want to get a job. Yeah, and work for a living like the rest of us, because the money's going to run out someday. Yes. He doesn't seem to care that the Supreme Court already rejected his previous effort to forgive student debt, saying he did not have the legal authority. Still does. It's pathetic that the cost of university education, is so high, especially given how many degrees in the AI world are useless. Plus, many universities these days are just hotbeds of radicalization. It hardly seems worth taking $80,000 worth of debt for such a dubious outcome. And I heard they're going up to like even $59,000 a year. So it's crazy. Yes, let the government start paying for something and watch how high the price. I can't believe it that people would actually pay that just to go there and not get educated, but to be radicalized. But nevertheless, taxpayers have footed the bill for college and loaned out over $1 trillion to students across the country. This is a basic tenet of capitalism, which Mr. Biden claims to embrace. Debts have to be paid. But because this guy's poll numbers are so pathetic, especially with young people, he's trying to score points by canceling their debts. Well, canceling student debt means that taxpayers will lose hundreds of billions in loans that they made. So rather than taking steps to strengthen America's balance sheet, the president is once again violating the law to make the balance sheet worse, all to improve his image among young voters. This is hardly a way to restore trust in government. So again, I'm not holding my breath. Diamond's letter is worth the read if you have the time, he says. You might not agree with everything he says, but it is rather telling that the CEO of the country's largest bank is speaking so plainly about obvious risks. Yeah. Yes, the sovereign man, usually worth the read. I'll close that. And what do we got here? Invasion alert, you think? All right, let me check out the chat room, see what we got here. Link on the pagan trinity. Not the biblically Britannic. Okay, well, I'm not going to open that right now. Let's see. And Jesuit Hall. Okay, I put that in there. Archive.org. Joan of Arc. Letter, March 1430. Oh, that sounds interesting. I might open that up in a new tab. Let's see, but I'm going to go back to this here. I'll check it out later. Okay, let's see. Oh, still not where I want to be here. Yes, that's where I want it to be. I'm still checking out the chat room here. Anybody else has anything to say in it? See, is that the pagan trinity? Is that like the Pope's trinity or the whole unholy trinity that rules the world? Yes, I don't know. I've never heard of the pagan trinity. I didn't know the pagans had a trinity. I'm sure they do. They got to fake everything. Must be the Catholic trinity then. Okay. Okay, yes indeed. Okay, well, it's getting too hard to read. Okay, let's see. What sounds good here? World War III is now inevitable. Here's why. Is there World War III inevitable? Well, let's find out why. This is from Brandon Smith, altmarket.us. He says, if you're getting the feeling like the globalists are really pushing hard for World War III these days, you're not alone. Yeah, it seems like they are. Let's see. In the past few months, there's been multiple instances of European and U.S. officials hinting at the possibility of a new military draft. The EU has talked openly about boots on the ground in Ukraine. NATO officials have stated unequivocally they will not accept a loss in Ukraine to the Russians. They? I didn't know this was a NATO war. Yeah, that's these people are demented. Yeah, they will not accept a loss in Ukraine. So what does that mean? NATO, if NATO attacks, I mean, isn't it if Russia attacks NATO, then I mean, aren't there rules? Don't they have rules that NATO operates by that prevent a war with Russia over Ukraine? I think so, because Ukraine used to be part of Russia. They gave it up. I don't think they really wanted it back. But I understand why they went in there to protect the Russian people that were being killed by the other Ukrainians, by the Ukrainian government. They were killing Russians, shut down all the Russian Orthodox Church, and started attacking Russian-speaking people in Ukraine. Yeah. Like if they started doing that in Mexico to Americans, well, Joe Biden probably wouldn't go in to help the Americans, but any real president would go in there to help the Americans. If Mexico started killing and attacking and bombing Americans in Mexico, yeah. It's kind of the same thing, right? Okay, NATO officials have stated unequivocally they will not accept a loss in Ukraine to the Russians, and the Kremlin has warned once again that nuclear weapons are on the table if Western troops enter the war. U.S. government has recently asserted that Ukraine will be joining NATO, a red line in the sand for Russia. They know that. Then there's Israel and Gaza. I warned months ago in my article, he says it's a trap. The wave of repercussions as the Middle East fights the last war, that the war in Gaza would expand into a multi-front conflict that would probably include Iran. Looks like that's working out. I also warned that it would be to Israel's benefit if Iran entered the war, because this would force the U.S. to become directly involved. To be sure, Iran has already been engaging in proxy attacks on Israel through Lebanon, but Israel's attack on the Iranian embassy or diplomatic station in Syria basically ensures that Iran will not directly commit to strikes on Israeli targets. In other words, much like World War I, the situation is being escalated by the political elites, despite the fact that the general public in the West is increasingly opposed to participating in the conflict. The globalists want to send us to war whether we like it or not. Every decision they have made so far makes peaceful resolution impossible. One saving grace that is perhaps new in the entire history of geopolitics is that the public is far more awake and aware of the fact that it's not necessarily their duty to blindly go to fight when their government calls on them to do so. Social media has also given a platform for people to widely voice their concerns about war, whereas the past objectors felt isolated. That is true. Obviously, some of this is based purely on fear. A large percentage of Gen Z is unequipped mentally or physically to go to war, which is why more than 70% of potential military recruits today are rejected before they even get to boot camp. These are many of the same young people who post Ukrainian flags to their social media profiles and jump headfirst into anti-Russian rhetoric. But now that they are faced with the possibility of having to sacrifice themselves for Ukraine, they are angry and terrified. Yep. Yeah, don't say I support this or that unless you're willing to, put your money where your mouth is or lay down your life. Then you can say you support. Otherwise, stop. Yeah. Okay, let's see, I've got another caller here. Okay, let's see, your name and where you're calling from. Yeah, well, okay, well, this is, I guess, this is strike 2 on this number. So we'll just end it and strike it. Yes. Block number. Block. Okay, I don't think I have any other numbers that have one strike on them. That's the last one. Okay, that number is blocked already. How can they call back in? Oh, I must have just blocked it then. Okay, it's supposed to be blocked. Maybe this thing is not working. All right, unless I unblocked it by accident. Sorry about that interruption there from our, what do you call him? Ghost caller. Guy Fawkes. Okay, anyway, let's see. However, there's also a large contingent of capable and mostly conservative men with the background and the aptitude for combat that still want nothing to do with Ukraine. Definitely. I don't want any of my children or grandchildren going over to Ukraine to fight for the Antichrist. The reason is simple. They believe that the far-left Western governments and globalists want to use them as cannon fodder to get rid of them. Yes, population reduction. Once they are used up in war, there will be no one left to oppose the leftist takeover at home. There you go. Yeah. Truth. For most of us in America, Ukraine is irrelevant and we grow tired of wars in the Middle East, whether left or right. We have no interest in fighting for them, but that's not going to matter much, at least in terms of preventing a global war. European fear-mongering. War with Russia will depend on European involvement, more on European involvement than U.S. involvement. While the U.S. has been the largest provider of armaments to Ukraine by far, the ultimate goal, I believe, is to integrate European troops into the Ukrainian front, which would be an automatic declaration of global war. The basis for mobilization of troops from Europe is domino theory propaganda. We've heard some of it here in America, but nowhere near the same level as the EU populace. Governments assert that Russia's goal is to clear Ukraine as a pathway to invade the rest of Europe. I don't think the Russians are insane. I don't think Putin is insane enough to even want to do that. Okay? This is the same claim used as justification for the U.S. war in Vietnam. If we let one country fall to the enemy, then all the surrounding countries will fall also. Both Ukrainian and NATO leadership suggest the war must continue in Ukraine in order to contain it. There has been no serious discussion of diplomacy, which is utterly bizarre considering the stakes involved. A peace proposal should have been broached the moment the war kicked off, and there should have been ongoing efforts to come to an agreement. Instead, even limited peace talks have been thwarted before they truly begin. A military draft in Europe is far more likely to succeed given the socialist nature of the population and the fact that only a tiny percentage of civilians are armed to defend themselves. Even with a public protest movement, I have little doubt EU governments will be able to secure a large enough force to send into Ukraine and escalate the war. According to the evidence, it is clear that some NATO troops have already been deployed to Ukraine and have been there for some time. As I've noted in the past articles, the strategies used during the first Ukrainian counterattack were far too advanced for Ukrainian troops and leadership to pull off without help. Anti-armor tactics in particular were very familiar, similar in execution to tactics used by U.S. and British special forces. Not surprisingly, as soon as foreign mercenary recruit rates dropped off, Ukraine's momentum fizzled. The Russians are likely well aware of this situation, but as long as smaller groups of soldiers can be sent under the guise of mercenary forces, there's not much they can do about it. It is the open deployment of NATO battalions that is the cause for greater worry. There's zero basis for the domino narrative. Not once has Russia indicated since the start of the conflict that they intend to invade the EU. In fact, Putin has long stated that the war in Ukraine is about protecting the separatists of the Donbass region from Ukrainian reprisal and about the continued escalation of NATO armament. My suspicions about Putin's connections to the globalists aside, if we look at the war from a basic cost-benefit analysis, there's really nothing for Russia to gain by threatening Europe. Then there's the problem of logistics. If Russia is supposedly struggling in Ukraine, how could they have the means to fight on an expanded front against the combined military might of Europe and the U.S.? The only end result would be nuclear war, which both sides would lose. But if you look at the situation objectively, there's a group of people out there that have a lot to gain. Yes, the regular warmongering rich that stand to get even richer. And, really, the Antichrist wants it. Will he get it? Smaller attacks on Russian supplies as well as civilians have been escalating in the past month. The terror attack in Moscow, which U.S. intel blames on ISIS, resulted in the deaths of at least 130 people, and drone attacks are threatening oil depots along with other resources. In the grand scheme of the war, these attacks are inconsequential, but they will undoubtedly lead to extensive bombardment of Ukrainian cities and the further disablement of Ukrainian infrastructure. Power, water, and other utilities will be destroyed, and a resource crisis will ensue. Compared to the U.S. invasion of Iraq, Russia has managed to keep civilian casualties in Ukraine very low. But each new attack on Russia's soil instigates a larger Russian retaliation. And maybe this is the goal, to get the Russians to crater a larger Ukrainian population center, thereby giving NATO an excuse to send troops to the region. Okay, Iran oil and the imperative. In the Middle East, the primary driver for the international involvement is oil. We all know this, but oil access is not the end goal to the war in Gaza, just a mechanism for getting the U.S. involved. I'll reiterate here that I don't care which side started the fight or how far back the conflict supposedly goes in history. This is irrelevant. What I do know is that Hamas started this particular war by killing civilians in Israel, and you should not start a war unless you are willing to accept the consequences. That said, I do find it suspicious that Israel's defense measures were so useless that they were completely unaware of the Hamas incursion until it was too late. In any case, the conflagration is guaranteed to bring other larger military elements. Iran is going to enter the fray now. There's no way around it. This might happen first in the form of economic warfare, and the Strait of Hormuz and the deaths is the most likely target. Shutting down 30% of the world's oil traffic would be disastrous for the West, so America's entry is thus also guaranteed. And there's more. So we'll continue with this article after I get back from some messages. You're listening to me, Nicholas. This is Far Out with Nick at Night on First Amendment Radio. Don't go anywhere. I'll be back.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on satellite, internet, or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the internet. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the scriptures? and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
All right. When we left, we were talking about World War III and how it seems that World War III is now inevitable, and here's why is the name of the article, which I will continue here. The inflation factor, U.S. elections, and how globalists benefit. Yes. Joe Biden has been struggling for the past 3 years to manipulate oil prices down by dumping strategic reserves on the market. Well, that isn't all. I mean, this is kind of buying into the propaganda narrative, but I'm sure maybe it's affected the market a little bit. But actually, this is a big grift for Joe Biden because he sold all of his strategic reserves to China, the enemy of America. And you better believe that him and his friends were grifting the whole time because, somebody had to make the transaction. So when they sold those reserves, whoever made those transactions, whoever he appointed to make those transactions, were appointed to parse out the money and grift off of it. So did Joe sell our strategic reserves? What did he do with the money? He said he was going to, I think it was strategic that he got rid of all our preserves, and they're even shutting down some of them for good after they're emptied. So, and they've been doing a lot of it quietly, but a lot of it was, I do know that it was sold to China. And so he hasn't really, prices are still up regardless. They went up to a high, but they dropped back a little bit, but not all the way down, of course. So this is part of their propaganda narrative that he was going to release the reserves to drive down prices instead of increasing production. Yeah, he's decreased production. Anyway, let's see. By artificially keeping oil prices down, he keeps energy prices down. By keeping energy prices down, he reduces the growth of CPI. The Ukrainian attacks on Russian oil depots have helped to spike gas prices in the past month exactly because Russian oil is still being purchased by Western countries through back channels. You can't just cut off one of the largest energy suppliers in the world without a huge effect on prices at the pump. And these attacks are revealing how sensitive the oil market is to the slightest threat to the supply. Any major conflict in the Middle East will seal the deal and gas prices will explode. Inflation is not just going to be the death knell of Biden's presidency, assuming presidential elections still matter. It's going to be the death knell of the leftists and globalists overall, unless they can delay a larger economic calamity until they have a scapegoat or until they can start a massive war. The scapegoat will either be Trump and the conservatives or Russia and the BRICS, or both. If Trump replaces Biden in 2025, then a crash will be fast and assured, and it will be blamed on the conservative movements. If Biden stays in, a crash will be slower but will still hit hard after it can be blamed on the widening wars. Then there's a scenario of globalists securing a war before elections take place, perhaps with the intention of preventing or delaying the vote, perhaps with the intention of creating enough chaos that the vote can be rigged or giving the impression that it was rigged, triggering civil unrest, perhaps with the intention of declaring martial law. Obviously, this is where the globalists benefit, either by preventing conservatives from taking power or by embroiling conservatives in a global calamity that they eventually get blamed for. Keep in mind that any conservative independent opposition to the globalist establishment can now be accused of Russian collusion. Yeah, Russian collusion. Yeah, that worked last time, didn't it? Kind of stymied President Trump's entire term as president. What's the value of this? Well, it's an age-old strategy of demonizing freedom fighters. If they are seen by the public as fellow citizens fighting for the rights, then they might be treated as heroes. But if they're painted as foreign assets and terrorists seeking to destabilize society, which is exactly what the Antichrist and his minions are trying to do, then the public sees them as villains. And just another advantage that explains why globalists seem so intent on creating world war. And every time you see globalists, just think of the shadow government that works for the Antichrist. And right at the top, you will find the Jesuits. Yes, you will find the Jesuits. Where is that at here? The Jesuits. They're everywhere in everything, including Hollywood, all the seminars, all the universities, all the governments, all of the fortunes, yes, all of the big business. They're everywhere. And that's how they rule the world. But they will lose in the end because they can't win. The power of money is not the greatest power there is. That is playing out right now. It seems powerful because, the scripture even says money answers all things. And of course, it's speaking of temporal and worldly things. But not all things are temporal and worldly. There is a whole nother view out there that's eternal and not of this world. And that's the one that will last forever. Obviously, this is where the globalists benefits, either by preventing, Russian collusion. What's the value of this? Well, it's an age-old strategy for demonizing freedom fighters. If they're seen by the public as fellow citizens fighting for their rights, then they might be treated as heroes. If the public sees them as villains, if they're painted as foreign assets. It's just another advantage that explains why globalists seem so intent on creating a world war. I believe that the reason the establishment is pressing so hard for World War III is partly because of the upcoming elections and also because their COVID agenda failed. COVID lockdowns and the vaccine passport system were their big play to create the permanent authoritarian environment, the ability to crush conservative groups that refuse to submit, and no matter how you slice it, they didn't get what they wanted. World war is the natural plan B. Okay, well, here's the problem for them. If you believe in Bible prophecy, Darkeja's ears should be popping up right about now, or pricking up. In the Revelation, you'll find that the way was made for the kings of the East in the pouring out of the sixth vial, which the historicist school of thought, going back centuries, has believed would be a punishment coming on Western Christendom, of course, and all of its colonies, wherever it's colonized, including America, Canada, North and South America, Australia, because this is where Western Christendom growing up and having its birth in Western Europe, that's where it goes. So the kings of the way being made for the kings of the East has not been used yet, and we're already into the seventh vial. But it is one thing that is pending, that punishment, because it was the Mohammedan power, I think signified or symbolized by the Euphrates powers, that was a woe to Christianity in history and in prophecy fulfilled in history over the last 1800 years. So that power being dried up, there's another power. And now we see it developing. The power, what is immediately east of Western Christendom or Western Europe. Okay, what is immediately east is Russia and China. So I believe, if my best speculation, it seems quite clear that it really could be nothing else. If us historians is what we believe is true, even E.B. Elliott, although E.B. Elliott didn't see what we're seeing, he recognized it as a new woe coming out of the East on Western Christendom and everywhere Western Christendom now has spread, and that would fit with what's going on. So this World War III is not going to be just against Russia, because as you can see, they're demonizing China now, and you hear them screaming it all over the news and everywhere else that China is our enemy. Well, if they're our enemy, then they join our other enemy, Russia, and they're already allied. So it seems like it's fairly well set up for this to take place. And I'm hoping that it will not be as bad as World War I and World War II. That's what my hope is. And from what I read, because there's something that happens after that hasn't happened yet, and it would require Western Europe being somewhat intact, because the 10 horns or 10 divisions of Western Europe are supposed to turn on the whore. For some reason, likely they're going to see her part in everything that's going on now, which she is hidden. She has herself covered. She has other people to take the blame shift for everything she's doing. If anything goes awry, that she seems hidden, like it's not her that's doing it. But we know that it is her doing it. And her Jesuit army is right at the top. They are responsible for every genocide that has happened in the last 200 years, or in the last 500 years. Going back, how about how long has it been now? The last 1,400 years, because they had their 1,260-year reign, with all the genocides they committed during that, and then every genocide since then lands at their feet. And the Bible even tells us that in the Revelation. Where would I read that? That she's Mystery Babylon. Yeah, I pointed that out before in reading the Revelation. Mystery Babylon, abominations, fallen. Let's see. His name's okay. Why? Yeah, I'll have to look it up later. Oh, yes. I saw the woman drunken with the blood of the saints and with the blood of the martyrs of Jesus. I saw her wondered with great admiration. Right? Made drunk. The judgment of the great whore is coming. And God says he carried me away in the spirit, saw a scarlet-colored beast, a woman arrayed with scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones, and upon her upon her forehead a name is written, Mystery Babylon the Great. So we have this to come, I believe, after following the kings of the East woe that's coming on Western Christendom. See. Okay, the woman, yeah, so maybe chapter 18 is where I'll see it as fallen. She has glorified herself. The merchant of the earth. I forget exactly where it is, what I was looking for. Oh, in her was, this is it. In her was found the blood of the prophets and of saints and of all that were slain upon the earth. Yeah. So I believe she's responsible for all the genocides. And that's what they discover. And that's why God puts it in their heart. That is the 10 divisions of Western Europe, represented by the horns. They turn on her and burn her with fire. And she's completely raised from the face of the earth. That's the indication. So those are two things that must happen before Christ returns. So Christ's return is not imminent. There's no secret rapture that makes it imminent. Yes, forget that idea. At least Arkija agrees with me on that. But he doesn't agree with me on the rest of this, obviously, because he doesn't even think we're to the sixth seal yet. I don't know how you get there when history's we're almost at the end, so we must be almost at the end of the chronology of the judgments. First the seals, then the trumpets, and finally we're in the era of the seventh vial. Yeah. So that's what I believe prophecy has to say about this article. Very telling article here from Lou Rockwell. World war is the natural plan B. That's where we left off. It's important to understand that every crisis created by globalists, in other words, the shadow government that works for the Antichrist, is meant to destroy the freedom-minded. The true target is not Russia or Iran. They are peripheral. These events are designed to create an environment conducive to tyranny. Yes. The Antichrist wants to rule the world, in other words. They act as cover for engineered economic collapses, and they act as cover for the real war against those people that still defend liberty. You could say that World War III has already started, at least in economic terms. I also highly doubt that the end game for the globalists is a worldwide nuclear exchange. Why spend decades building a massive control grid only to vaporize it all in seconds? I do think the danger of kinetic warfare is skyrocketing and that U.S. and European citizens will be directly affected. It will take a sizable resistance movement to change the path we are being forced to follow, and things will get much worse before they get better. That's a pretty good article from, let's see, Brandon Smith, altmarkets.us. Very good article. Well, I'm coming to the end of the hour here. Let me check the chat rooms and see if we got any comments or anything. Trumpets are the... Okay, well, I'm not going to get into that. I'm going to argue. I think I stated a good case for what little bit of prophecy I wove into that story. Do better. Okay, nobody else has got anything to say. So that's that. How a total lunar eclipse saved Christopher Columbus. There's a story I never heard before, and I don't think I really have time for it. I've got about 6 minutes left here. Yeah, 6 or 7 minutes. What can we do for 6 or 7 minutes? I should always have a short piece ready. Let's see, I probably have something here somewhere. Okay, well, this ain't it, that's for sure. Oh, yeah, this is the nuclear scare scam. I hope all of you, some of you watched that anyway. Political, Trump balked on abortion ban. The former president viewed headline positions on abortion as toxic to the GOP in the midterms, pure politics. Well, what do you expect from politicians except pure politics? And I think that unless we can affirm life for the unborn, there's really nothing we can do on the national stage. Yeah. Until then, it's where it belongs with the states, unfortunately, because nobody's about making abortion murder again. And that's really what it needs to be. I don't know how we're going to, I don't believe we're going to be able to sort this thing out until Christ comes. Because you're not going to stop people from killing their children before they're born. It's been happening for all of history. And, we had a good run for the last couple hundred years, right? Remember, God's blessing being poured out for several centuries with the gospel going worldwide. And the Bible being printed in just about every language they're in. The 2 missionary centuries. Yeah, we had a good run, but now we're winding up toward the end, and those croaking frog-like spirits out of the mouth of the beast, the false prophet, and out of the mouth of the dragon. You can see they're doing their work in the world, and the croaking's just getting louder and louder and louder and louder, so that it's hard to believe that we can't shout them down, we can't shut them up. And that's all we can do is continue to shout them down and make sure that we at least maintain an equilibrium, as I believe the prophecy shows that we can do in America, because the prophecy doesn't show me anything different about America. Now, we see in some other parts of the world where the dragon power, the dragon speaking side is totally won out and has total dominion in some nations on the earth. In America, we have this battle going on between the dragon speaking and the lamb-like division in the land. And the division isn't clear-cut. It isn't like the East versus the West or the North versus the South. It seems like we're all mixed up in here. And so that may be one thing that keeps civil war from breaking out in America, is there's no clearly delineated physical lines, so that we're just going to have to keep this equilibrium going. And this shouting match basically is what it looks like to me, because we are up against the power that's called dragon speaking, because it has no real substance. Evil has no real substance. It doesn't have any reality of its own. It can only try to destroy, pervert, and convolute God's reality, because it has no creative power of its own. But through it all, Jesus said, I will build my church, and he is continuing to build his church in the world even today. And when he comes, we will see who is his, and we will see who is not, because all who are his, that are mortally living on the earth as we are right now, we will join him. And those who are not his, they will remain on the earth, and they will be caught up in the Armageddon final temporal judgment that's coming from God, from Christ himself. They will array themselves against him, all of the governments that are here when he comes, but they will be defeated summarily. They will deceive themselves into thinking we can take on Jesus and his, because look, their intel is going to tell them that we don't have any tanks or planes or weapons or missiles. That's what their intel is going to tell them. We don't have any of those things. And then they're going to finally decide, let's go get them. Yeah. But we'll have nothing to worry about. And then when the Armageddon War is over, well, Jesus is going to rule the world, all the mortals that are left over. He's going to rule the world with a rod of iron, he says, with us, his saints. ruling and reigning with him for 1,000 years. And yes, many of us may have living relatives in the earth that lived through that time. But I believe a lot of people will be destroyed. There are some believe that Jesus is going to wipe out everyone but the saints, but then who are they going to rule over? Well, then there is no rule. That's the new heaven and new earth, where there's no ruling and reigning, because everyone is already totally sold out to Jesus, to the King of Kings, and to the God of the universe. It's the blessed eternal state that we have to look forward to after the millennium. So that's what we have to look forward to. And I wrote a book called, what's it called? It's called The Millennium Question. Here it is right here. You can read about that yourself. Also, I think I'm airing that starting today on Rumble and wherever we're recording First Amendment Radio. I'm doing the Audible version starting today. So check it out and follow it. All right, may the Almighty bless you and keep you as you travel on the narrow way that leads to life. Make sure you never depart from it. I'll see you next time. Secrets of the Rapture. Is there a 500-year-old conspiracy? A propaganda machine so pervasive and entrenched, yet so elusive that the entire world could be taken in by it, working in plain sight, but unseen by the world for what it truly is? If prophecy is God-given history in advance, why does the prophecy that has conquered the age also exclude nearly 2,000 years of history? What is it that they are afraid that the light of history will reveal? To understand our place in time and prophecy, we must look in history for an interpretation, that which stands the test of time, that which agrees with the Word of God, and history has proven to be true. When cunning fables and fearful speculations are removed from our sight, then we may clearly see what is truly expressed in Bible prophecy, both that which has been fulfilled and that which has yet to come. God's express word is the sword that must be wielded to remove the scales from the eyes and dispel the darkness of deceitful conjecture. Secrets of the Rapture was written to expose that which the spirit of the age has conjured out of the darkness to blind the eyes of the church in the world today. Secrets of the Rapture, Deconstructing Pre-Tribulation Dispensational Futurism by yours truly, Nicholas Arthur, is now available at lulu.com and Amazon. Secrets of the Rapture.
The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel.
15 states today with over 31 million people in its path. Massive crowds gathered to watch. Astrophysicist John Mulcahy spoke to Fox News.
But I want to say that the reaction, I think, is universal. Awe. People are in awe of the universe.
For the believer in the Lord Jesus, it evokes a "what a mighty God" response. Here's a child in New York City reacting to the eclipse.
It's different. Like, when you see a picture, you think like it's a picture, but it's cool. But then when you actually see it, it's 10 times better, 10 times cooler, 10 times more awesome.
A total solar eclipse won't hit the U.S. for another 20 years. President Joe Biden continues to make the case for student loan cancellation from the key battleground state of Wisconsin.
I think we all in this room share one goal: give everybody a fair shot, just a shot, freedom to chase their dream.